What's up, everybody? Another episode of Off the Yard. I'm Big Lance. It's a beautiful morning, and I think I'm bringing the stoop back. I think I'm gonna bring the stoop sessions back, dude. I think this is a good place to record, as long as it's not too loud and as long as it's not too cold. So today we're talking about prison gangs and whose hands does the blood lay on? This is an interesting topic because there's a lot of things that you guys don't know. There's a lot of things that you guys think you know, and you're very wrong. The system would have you believe that they are just constantly fighting gang violence, and they are just adamant that gangs should not exist in the Department of Corrections. They would have you believe that their hands are not in the pot a little bit, maybe more than a little bit. I'm gonna tell you like this. Every single Department of Corrections facility, every single one of them has or has once been a part of gang profit, gang stability. There's no way in hell that you're going to put all of these people from different factions of life into one institution and there's not going to be corruption. There's not going to be people who are going to drift to the other side. Just like you have inmates who drift to the side of the police and turn rat and turn snitch and turn do-boy. That be the guy with the mop. Okay, boss. Anything you say, boss, you want me to take your trash out, boss? Get out of here. You see it all the time. These dudes come in straight killers, man. Straight off the street. Savage men of just violent ability beyond your own recollection. I don't even know if there's a word, but recollection, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. You can't imagine the degree of violence that some of these men come into prison with, is what I'm trying to say. But as time goes on, they become what we call institutionalized. They become part of the system. The system has created this person. That's what the system is trying to do. That's what they want to do. To try to create somebody who is going to just, you know, da-da-da-da-da. Do whatever you say, boss. It's funny to me, man. Look at these people out here like these, you know, I'm a musician. A lot of y'all know that. Some of y'all don't. I have a music channel called Real Outlaw Blue Collar Music. And I see a lot of these guys portray themselves as an outlaw, as a gangster. You know, and it's funny how they come into prison and become old follow the rules ass dude. That's what you should call your group. Oh, follow the rules type dude. Because that's what happens. Now, there's another side of that coin too, man. There's another side that says, I want to get my hands dirty. I want to get my hands in the pot. These guys are making money. What you don't understand is some of these prison gangs are full-fledged criminal organizations. Some of these prison gangs are making millions. Yes, that is facts. Sitting back in a shoe or sitting back in a cell, 23-1, making millions. How are they doing that? You think they're just doing that through mail? You think they just will that stuff into fruition? They need help. Who do you think helps them? Now, I've never been to different states in prison. I'm going to talk about my state. In my state, corrupt as they come. Although we are not as high profile as Cali or as violent as Texas or some of those more mainstream prisons that you guys hear about, we got our share. Every state does. Every state has got a form of corruption. Every state penitentiary has got somebody bringing in a cell phone. A cell phone is something that is a necessity to a gang leader. I've had many. I would have 3 or 4 cell phones stashed. Because I needed to touch base. I needed somebody to talk to. I needed to be able to call shots. We don't have the capability to go to the store and buy a cell phone. How do you think we're getting it? How do you think we are able to move around this institution that has cameras, guards, administration, all of the above? How do you think that happens? See, there's a thing in prison where they want to keep the peace, man. When you have hundreds, sometimes thousands of men who are mostly affiliated, doing life sentences, doing time that you can't even fathom, it's a volatile situation, man. That being said, I'm not here to drop no game that already ain't been dropped. So people that are going to be in the comments talking about, oh, he's dropping game. Man, this ain't nothing new. This is the same thing that has been talked about on most channels that you see. I'm just going to talk about my experience. In our Department of Corrections, we have what we call a roller. A roller is a guard who we have manipulated into doing our bid, man, bidding our will. A lot of times it might be a female. I've had where there's been females who have been recently divorced or aren't the most attractive and don't get much attention on the street. So you put them in a situation where there are nothing but well-built, handsome men, blasted tattoos, all the things that these women like out here in the street. We are that in the prison system. That's what we're doing. We're working out. We're getting smarter. We're educating ourselves. We are learning how to manipulate. We're learning how to be better criminals. That's what prison is, man. It's not what they try to push. Their narrative is to make you guys think they're trying to rehabilitate us. That is all wrong. They're not trying to rehabilitate us. They're trying to make us better criminals, because the more people that they keep in prison, the more money they get to put in their pockets. Not just from the prison itself, but from what we're doing on the inside. What we're doing on the inside is the same stuff we're doing on the outside. It's just on a different level, a different degree. It is like a little town in there. It's like a little city. You've got dope. You've got stores. Gangs are able to run rampant in the prison system because they are allowed to. The system says, well, we can't really control it, so let's try to manipulate it to what we want. We want peace. They're going to be gangbanging. They're going to have knives. Do you really think that these guys are going here and talk about, oh man, they had metal takes me to shove knives up our ass? Listen, man, I personally didn't see people shoving knives up their ass to go to the yard. There's so many guys going to yard at one time. They call yard. Boom. There's hundreds of men flooding through. Do you think they're stopping us and shoving a wand up our ass to see if we have a knife in there? They're not. And and most of the knives are outside anyway. You think if you catch me with a knife in my cell, I don't have another one in the yard? I've got plenty of knives. Then some of these guards see the opportunity. They see the opportunity to make a few dollars because they're not getting paid much, 12, 15 bucks an hour, working 12-hour shifts, breaking their ass. They're just never home, always in the prison. Man, I can bring in some cigarettes, make some bread. A cell phone, sheesh, that's a little $50 flip phone is going for $200 or $300, sometimes more. I've seen them go for $500. One strip of Suboxone right now, $500 to $1,000. Can you imagine? The gangs are going to be there. How do you protect your guards? You think they're going to come in here every day and just come in with their little SRT teams with their shields and disrupt gang violence? They're never going to control it. It's never going to happen. The best that they can hope for is to get a shift of peace amongst these animals, amongst these men that want to fight, that want to kill, that want to stab, that want to cause chaos. That's what gangs are. It's funny how gangs talk about honor and discipline, but in reality, they're nothing but organized chaos. Yeah, I'm going to discipline all these guys, but if you piss me off, I will greenlight all of y'all, and I'll send them. And every gang's got them. Every gang's got a send-off crew. Every gang's got guys that they just, I had dudes in my car that I knew they were getting high. I knew they were a liability, so they were the ones that I would send first. I don't care if they're off the yard. Now, my guys that were soldiers, my guys that were, with the business, I kept close to me. I need those guys on the yard. We're a white organization. We don't have the numbers to just send. When you hear these guys talking about, man, I'll send 5, 10 guys at you and do that. No, you won't. No, you won't. Because you can't afford to. I didn't want war. I never wanted to be in a war with somebody. It cost me too much. I had too much going on financially to just go beat people up all the time. Let's go send my best guys and violate this dude because he's a junkie. No, I'm going to send the other junkies to go take care of the junkies. And the administration has plenty of intel. So they know what's going on. A lot of times they just let it slide. Because they don't want us to buck and flood and trash their facility. So who's really to blame? Who's really at fault? Is the system at fault? Are the inmates at fault? Is the system broken? Are we just unfixable? I believe it's kind of a compilation of everything. You can't put blame on one entity. It's everybody is at fault here. So yes, in a sense, the system is broken on all ends, man. It's never going to be fixed. That's why we have these. That's why we try to preach this stuff, man. That's why we try to say, hey, look, don't go to prison. Because the only thing that's going to happen is as you're young and you're going into prison, the first time you're like, oh, I'm going to rehabilitate myself. You might even have some sort of hope for your life. But if you go back and you become part of that revolving door and you become part of the recidivism, you will become what you set out to be in the first place, man. These gangs are going to run. There's always going to be gangsters. There's always going to be gang banging. There's always going to be organizations. There's always going to be people who want to live outside the law. There's always going to be outlaws. That's just the way it is. Since the beginning, you look back at the first original outlaws we know about. Billy the Kid, Jesse James. Moving on, Bonnie and Clyde, Dillinger, Babyface Nelson. All these people, man, there's always been some sort of gangster mentality. The best that you can hope for is that you hear something, or your kids hear something, or your loved ones hear something that maybe steers them in the direction that, hey, that does look. They glorify it in movies. They glorify it on TV shows. You look at these TV shows on Netflix and things like that, and Stars and all that. They glorify this stuff. But there's nothing glorious about being locked in a cage as a human being while life is going on around you, man. So at the end of the day, the gang violence and the gang banging is on each person. The blood is on their hands. Whoever decides to be a part of it, to be a part of the infestation of gang violence in the world, that blood is on your hands. That blood was on my hands. And it is. It never will be washed off. I can go get baptized 100 times. I can go say 100 Hail Marys. But at the end of the day, the blood will still be on my hands because I was a part of it. I was part of the chaotic mess of gangbanging. I tell these stories, and I try to reach out to some people, man, but some people are just not going to hear it. People are just going to go do what they want to do, and that's okay. You will not be young forever. You will not retire as a gangster. You will not live off a gangster's 401k, Social Security. There is nothing. What happens is you have to keep starting over, man, because you're going to get caught, you're going to get arrested, you're going to get all these things. And they're going to keep piling up and piling up and piling up until you're going to be 44 years old sitting on a stoop talking about, I wish I would have made better decisions. How do I know that? Because I am that person. I am that guy that says that to a lot of people. I wish I would have made better decisions. And the administration is just as bad as the inmate. They do not care about rehabilitating. Know this. Please understand this, that there is very little prison reform. There's very little to steer us in the right direction because it's a business and business is booming. Business is great. These are warehouses, man. They're not sitting people in these facilities and just sitting around singing Kumbaya. They're sitting us in these facilities and letting us stab each other over a Suboxone. It's petty. It's pointless. And it will never stop. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Off the Yard, man. I'm Big Lance. Much love to Gladiator Gang. Salute to all my blue collar kings and queens. And as always, y'all, have a happy Sunday and stay sucker free.